Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Amon Green, Green Bay Packers all-time leading rusher, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Packer content. Go Pack, go!
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. Joined alongside Tim in Green Bay, trying to get the voice back. He was out there getting loud at Lambeau last night, dealing with the weather, and obviously sitting through that, man. Some people think it's a horrible game. I kind of like games like that where it's low scoring, good defense. It seems like the intensity is ramped up from the get-go. Sometimes when a team jumps out to an early 10-point lead or what have you, the intensity goes down a little bit. But last night, man, just watching it on TV really felt like, wow, the air's got to be thick there in Lambeau. I'm excited to get Tim's take on it there firsthand from those cold bleachers in Lambeau Field. We're also going to dive into a Colin Cowherd, take.
Oh, no, you had it right the first time, Clay.
He's got a take on this Green Bay defense. It's like, bud, you want to dog the offense. I get it. I understand. But anybody who went out there and tried to bash the Packers defense after last night's performance, they can't think they're picking a fight with the wrong people there. So we'll hit on that, and then we'll dive into the PFF grades as well. And obviously, we will keep the chat involved. I know we got everybody hanging out in here. I want to give a shout out to Michael Zimmerman, became a member here on YouTube. Appreciate you, Michael. Thank you for the support there, buddy. And everybody following in, Mr. Larry. We got United Bates. We got Chris in. I think we had Big O in here earlier. We were kind of talking about that. You guys, it seemed like everybody was pretty much in agreement. We had Big O in the house under another account. I said he's keeping
burner number 957.
Telling you, man, here I thought Atlas was going to take over Google for a search engine, and I don't know. He's keeping Google in business, man, with all these Google accounts, so he can get in here and with the burners. But nonetheless, that's what we're going to cover tonight. If you guys will, before we get into it, do me a favor. Hit that like button, hit subscribe. If this is your first time tuning into PTA, welcome. Thank you for making us a part of your evening. We're not experts. We're not insiders. We're not media. We're fans just like you talking Packers on the daily. Today, we are going to be breaking down the PFF grades, so kind of seeing which players stood out from PFF's standpoint, and we kind of cross-check that and give our opinion on whether we agree with those grades or not. So that's the episode you're tuning into tonight. So make sure you hit subscribe, click that bell icon so you're notified when we go live here in the future. Before we get into Colin Cowherd, so tell me, Tim, right there, boots on the ground. Again, me watching the game, it was hard to come away feeling positive because of the offensive struggles. But in the end, when you really put everything into perspective, it's like, okay, reigning Super Bowl champions, they beat you by 3 points, right? Your defense played championship caliber defense, in my opinion. The offense struggled. There was plenty of blame to go around. You know, watching the TV copy, I tend to lean towards the offensive line mostly, kind of gets the blame for me. Jordan Love made plenty of mistakes. Christian Watson, made a mistake there, not tracking the ball well. Deep, you had, a couple of different – I tried to say I'm not touching anything on defense. I told Tim this before we went live, like, man, I have no complaints with the defense. You hold the Philadelphia Eagles to 10 points. What is there to complain about? But I feel like there's plenty of blame to go around on offense. You got drops. Some people are wondering, why is Bo Melton out there? We kind of talked about it last night, gave our opinion. He's got the most experience at F, seeing that both Matthew Golden was out. And then, of course, you had Jaden Reed still not off the injured reserve. Those are your two top F. Obviously, you could tell they spent the entire time in training camp training Matthew Golden to have some meaningful reps at F. So they probably looked up and said, you know what? We don't want to take Christian away from Z, right? We want him to continue to stretch the field. And let's just pop Bo in there. And it did. It bit him in the rear end, man. You had a key drop there. Wicks had a couple drops too, or at least one drop. But
his first of the year, I believe.
Yeah, and he also, Tim, he picked up some crucial third downs too. So it's hard for me to knock Wicks too much, right? And him coming, with a little bit of rust off of that calf injury. But anyway, how did it feel there in person? And is there anything I said there that maybe you disagree with that now, being there, I feel like it was more in this direction. What was your take on the game?
I'm kind of with you on a lot of that because I remember doing my patented sneak in and hit the men's room before halftime, beat the rush. And I was waiting in line and talking to a few Packer fans. And you're going into halftime, you're 0-0 ball game. I looked at the guys and said, hey man, this favors the Packers. I like this. I like the fact that our defense is playing pretty stout. Shout out to Cowboy Coop with the punch out of the season so far. That was textbook ball king right there all day. But yeah, I felt like we were in the game. It was a close game, but yeah, offensively on that side of the ball, we lost as a team. That's what lost us the game. We can talk about the issues on the O-line. That's true. We did not get the best game from Jordan Love, arguably one of the poorer performances of his time as a starter, I think. But again, I think that goes hand in hand with offensive line play that is, inconsistent at this point might be an understatement. Jordan just never looked comfortable. But, the vibe in the stands, at least from where I was sitting, was, we were never not in that game. I was trying to get people around me to calm down. It's been a one score game this whole time, and it was awesome to see Josh get in the end zone there for us and, make it a 10-7 game. But yeah, I'm not willing to singularly place blame on any one player, any one coach at all. I think this was, from the offensive side of the ball, it was a team loss. But I agree with you, Clayton. I'm not going to talk bad about our defense, man. Our boys took care of it, man. Shout out to the defensive crew. You're right. Championship caliber defense is what we saw. I mean, we held the reigning Super Bowl champions to 10 points.
Right.
We'd have got a little help on the offensive side of the ball. Might have been a different game.
Yeah. And again, man, anybody who thinks the Eagles don't have a good offense, yes, their running game has been struggling this year. And by the way, they continued to struggle because they faced a really good run defense in the Packers yesterday, but their passing game had been pretty potent. And here the Packers shut them down. I don't know how many times they got into the red zone. Was it twice, I believe? Or maybe just once, because that Devonta Smith touchdown, I'm pretty sure that was outside of the red zone. So if that's correct, then we probably held them to 50% success rate. Actually, 0% success rate in the red zone, which we know coming into this game we talked about, and that's scoring touchdown percentage. They were leading the league at like 85%, right? So the fact that the Packers kept them to a goose, if indeed that pass was outside of the 20, then that's a positive. That's one of the keys to the game that we thought, okay, this is going to be a close game if they can handle that. So yeah, there's a lot of good. I think there's a lot more bad coming out of this game, but there's still some good you could take away from it. And we'll kind of hit all of it. I hate to neglect the chat because I see some of these comments and they're great. I want to get into the Cowherd take, and we'll get to that here in a second, Tim. But let's start with Jeffrey here. Jeffrey said Ryan at center, Jenkins at guard, eventually Banks on the bench. The Banks stuff is it's tough, man. And another comment here, if I can hit it real quick. Jeffrey went on to say, I would eat that $77 million burger Banks served up. Man, what a disappointment. It's not even a $77 million burger, to be honest with you. Right. $77 million was the entirety of the contract. Right. So you're just on the hook for the guaranteed. If you decide to move on after 1 year, you're going to eat a cap penalty, but you still come out net positive because you got an out after year one. So maybe Goody did look at that signing like, hey, we had a high draft grade on him. We see a lot of upside there. Let's get him in our system and see if we can get him acclimated, right? Oh, nope, it ain't working. Let's move on. But then again, Goody may be looking at him, Jeffrey, and going, hey, I like him. I think he's playing good. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I can understand the evaluation better than an NFL GM, even the worst GM in the league, even the Jets GM, right? Somebody like that. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like, okay, yeah, I know more than them. Not that you are, Jeff, but it's actually far less than the 77 million. So Joe Pack Joe says, I'm going to try to have some optimism. Reed coming back is going to a lot of spark on those intermediate throws that can also be one-on-one contested catches. Yeah, I think a lot of people, Joe, that were dogging Jaden Reed at the end of the year last year realized real quick, maybe he is a good receiver, right? That blew me away that people were trying to make him the scapegoat last season. Holmes MD1 says Jenkins will be lucky to play in 10 weeks. If the team is still playing and he's in shape, I think Jenkins is done as a Packer. We've had some conversations like that here on this show. I don't know how bad is the fracture. Will it be 4 weeks? Will it be closer to 10 weeks? Will it be, who knows? Is he done for the year? I guess we'll find out soon enough. But I got to be real. I kind of want to see what Sean Ryan does at center because last night I didn't feel like there was a there he is. I didn't feel like there was a big drop off. I actually felt like the offensive line kind of settled down. And you don't wish injury on anybody, but it's hard for me to convince myself, Tim, that the offensive line is better off without their most seasoned veteran and one that's a former All-Pro. But in my eyes, it kind of felt like that. Maybe I'm wrong there. You got anything you want to add to that before we move on to the next comment?
I wouldn't entirely disagree with that feeling. I would say it's probably a little early, you know, with Big E going to IR. So let's see what happens these next few weeks with Nacho Libre at center. And I think that's valid if he puts together a couple good performances in a row and shows some consistency there. Even if he meets the level of center play that we were getting from Elton Jenkins, that's awesome. And exactly what you want the next man up to do is you don't want to see a drop off in your performance or your production. But if you get more, that's an added bonus. And, you know, we forget Sean Ryan is, old enough to know better, young enough to still enjoy it, if you know what I mean. So he's not exactly a rookie anymore. And he's seen his fair share of moving around that O-line these past couple of seasons. And I think he's proven to be a pretty reliable offensive lineman for this banged-up Packers offense right now.
Yeah, I agree, man. I agree. Chris Casualin says showtime for Ryan. Again, man, you may look up and go, damn, he's a pretty good center. End up extending him for a fairly cheap contract, and he's the center of the future. That could be the case. You know, I wouldn't put my money on it at this point, but last night I was kind of impressed that there were no bad snaps, to the best of my knowledge. There were no, you know what I mean? And you kind of expect that when the backup center comes in. That's a hard adjustment to make, you know. So, yeah. So, all right, let's move on to Colin Cowherd here, Tim. If you'll well, actually don't worry about that screen, but I'll tell you here in a second when you can pull it. I want to hit the tweet. Micah Parsons quote tweeted our boy Colin Cowherd. All right. And Micah Parsons put a bunch of laughing emojis. This is what Colin Cowherd tweeted. And then we'll read off what Micah Parsons tweeted. He said, quote, Micah's rep has always been he's a splash player, a remarkable athletic splash player. He's not good against the run. Right. And it says Colin Cowherd isn't surprised at Micah Parsons' recent lack of impact. So Micah quote tweeted him and said, we just held Saquon Barkley to 60 rushing yards, and our only losses have been holding teams to 13 points. 13 points or less, I guess what he's saying, right? Man, sometimes can y'all please shut the F up, all right? I think is what we're saying here, and enjoy great defense. Why do you think teams come into the games that we're going to run the ball on 3rd and long? What effect do you think that is? Please stop giving people's mics or listening to this trash.
Public service announcement from MP1. I love it.
And again, man, this is what we talked about with even Rashawn Gary last year. Like, why ain't he getting sacks? Why ain't he getting sacks? Guys, look at the run defense. Like, you can't have gaudy sack numbers and stop the run to the level in which we need to stop the run to have a championship defense. You got to pick one. You can't just take everything away, right? You're not the 85 Bears. You're not the 2000 Baltimore Ravens. You're not the insert any of the historically great defenses. And I don't know if anybody will ever be, you know, again, to be honest with you. But and mainly not because that defense was so great, but because offense was so limited back then. And nowadays, man, on a dime, you can go from – did you see the RPR last night with Jalen Hurts? How he would run, pass, and then he would sprint right. And the defender, what you do is you create a conflict defender on the edge. And we talked about the RPR and the game plan. If you guys go back and look at the game plan over on Patreon, that was the RPR we were talking about. It was showing basically a run, pass, run option. And what that means is run, fake the run, decide if you want to pass, right? Okay, if you want to pass, pull the ball out of the belly, and then it's kind of like a sprint right option. And if the defender goes to the quarterback, dump it to the flat. If the defender stays with the flat, he can tuck it and run. We got Emilio joining us now. Emilio, did you see the RPR last night? See it several times, right? That's what we were talking about. So again, we're just kind of hitting on what Colin Cowherd said here. And Micah Parsons quote tweeting him. Basically, Colin Cowherd's saying that he's having a lack of impact. And Micah Parsons pointing out, y'all think it's a coincidence that when we stop people's running game, that essentially we're not having these gaudy numbers, is what he's saying. This kind of goes hand in hand with what we talked about up to this point. You can't take everything away, right? Like you gotta pick and choose your spots. And the fact that Colin Cowherd has so little lack of awareness that the day after the Packers defense kept the Eagles to 10 points, and they're one of the better offenses in the league. Obviously, their passing game has been very, very potent all year long. That's the fight he decided to pick. Just convinces me even further that these guys are just looking for the reaction we're giving them, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. No, that's exactly it. I mean, it's how are you going to be able to say that when you held them to 13 first downs, 5 less than ours? There was only 111 rushing yards. They had 7 more yards than us rushing. Micah's right. You hold Saquon, you hold Jalen Hurts, you got to be in good shape. His total of 100 yards is the worst thing. You know, that one little swing pass spin move on Carrington was the worst play.
Yeah, definitely. Go ahead, Tim. You got anything you want to add to that right there, man?
No, other than Colin Cowherd is the weatherman of football commentary. He can be right sometimes, he can be wrong all the time. It never matters. I mean, if you don't like what Colin Cowherd says today, tomorrow he'll flip-flop and say the opposite, right? I mean, this is the guy who was telling us, not too long ago that Jordan Love was, incapable of playing football, and that he just could not understand why the Packers would put him in a position to be the starter and franchise quarterback. And, I think as recently as a few days ago, he was calling him one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. So, if you flip-flop all the time, it's hard to take you seriously, right? And I think you're right, Clayton. I think a lot of these, and maybe it's not just Colin Cowherd, maybe it's a lot of these mainstream media people. They just want the engagement and the reactions. I really think it is. They want to get a rise out of you, And I refuse to give it to them, So I'm glad Micah, called this out. Big shout out to Micah Parsons for addressing it. I thought that was pretty cool. A lot of the players, they don't tweet all the time, right? They may have socials and stuff. They're usually not, on the old X algorithm as much as maybe we are sometimes. Christian Watson also, kind of owned up to that helmet ball last night, and said that, you probably should have caught it. So it's kind of cool to see these players address it. Especially when you're bringing up specifically their name and their teammates, those guys are engaging in battle out there on defense. The last thing they want to hear is some talking head dweeb talk about how poor they are against the run when you held one of the best backs in the NFL under the century mark, and you gave up 10 points to the defending Super Bowl champions. So salute to Micah for calling it out.
Shoot, Tim, I'm surprised the talking heads at SportsCenter even put up Christian's response. What I mean? I saw a whole clip of that thing. And it's just they have accountability. Obviously, they know they messed up. They want the playback. You get 6 seconds basically each play to make something happen. Yep. And Christian there, turned and played defense. All right, whatever.
I respect Watson for the fact that he made a decision and went with it. He didn't. Right. A lot of times you see guys that kind of half-assed make a decision and. It ends up even worse than it could have been. So
right, Tim. If he goes to make the catch and the dude picks it off, why didn't Watson play DB there? He should have played defense on the guy. So it's like,
it's a lose scenario.
It is, man, and I've made my opinion. I've voiced my opinion earlier today, and we'll probably hit on it too when we get to Chalk Talk, maybe even with the PFF grades here in a little bit. But it is one of those situations. It's not like that decided the game. However, it's just really he definitely misjudged the ball. Watson. There's no two ways about it, right? So,
you want to have back under the lights stuff, man.
Absolutely. Brambo with the super chat. Thank you, Brambo. He says, we did almost jump that RPR on the last drive. We did. You're right. And that's kind of how you play it, right? You want to try to manipulate the quarterback's decision, especially once you get to the point where you're on an island. You want to match a hat for a hat in that scenario. It's hard to do when you got Saquon possibly running B gap opposite direction, and then everybody's got to get back and cover the scramble, the run action of the RPR, plus the pass option of it as well. There's a lot of moving parts there. And I did notice that I felt like we played a lot more zone last night. We'll see if the tape suggests that when we get into breaking it down a little deeper level. And that's how you play the RPRs. You got to play zone. If you're in man, you'll see what happens with Evan Williams last week, where he got washed out because he has to follow his guy wherever he goes, that type of thing. So, but thank you for the super chat, Brambo. Appreciate you buddy. So yeah, that's kind of the take there. Again, anybody who listens to the show consistently, pretty regularly, you know, we've basically made this point that Micah's making here in this tweet over and over and over again, that, you know, there's no defense out there that takes everything away. And as he's pointing out here, man, look, you decide, all right, we're going to stop the run. And he's just simply pointing out, like, what, you just picked the wrong fight with the wrong side of the ball there, Colin. That's all it was. And that's what makes me think you can't be that stupid. You can't be that stupid.
It's gotta be intentional, right?
Right. It's gotta be. So I do see a lot of people in the chat and talking about Brandon McManus. There's a lot of chatter in there. I'm a little confused, Emilio. I don't know if you pushed back on me last night or not. I'm trying to remember. Everything's kind of a blur. And
it was. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sleepy too. Still. So I got to get some rest tonight, my old ass. But with Brandon McManus, I'm seeing a lot of chatter. Like last night was another, like, man, it was almost like it was his, not his fault that we lost, but how many kicks did he kick? He kicked an extra point, right?
He kicked an extra point. He missed the field goal attempt with 2 seconds left. He attempted one pre-snap with like 5 seconds left, missed it just short. Mm-hmm. And then Matt pulled off the kicking unit, put Jordan on. Don't love that little bubble thingy that he ran. I would have liked like a 2-step speed out, or like, you know, the two kind of run the corner and then have the dude little run, whatever. But anyway,
I didn't like it at all. I thought it was dangerous. I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I understand.
It looked like Jordan just like airmailed it because he thought it was dangerous too.
Right. Because if they play off, right, there, you take it. But the fact that they played kind of snug, it wasn't really bump, but they were close enough. They can pick that pass off if you ain't careful. So Jordan just snap it, chuck it out of bounds, stick the look we wanted. Let's try the field goal. So the point I was trying to make with McManus is, I don't understand why we're more down on him today than we were going into the game. If you're down on him from last week, I get it. He hooked that ball. It seems like he's in his own head. If he is fully healthy, like people seem to be thinking he is. But that 64-yarder, I didn't watch him shank that and go, oh crap, McManus sucks. Like, I understand
a healthy Brandon McManus attempting a 64-yard field goal is pretty much the sheer edge. I mean, you're already out of his range, right? I think he's probably in that 59 to 60, 61, maybe you might get 64, 65. No.
Yeah. And as Deadfish said, the first kick was just short. So now he goes back after gathering that information and go, boys, I got to put more on this to get it there. And what happens when you put more on it? You're going to hook that thing. That's what's going to happen, right? So I'm not saying that I'm right and anybody else is wrong. I don't look at that kick and go, boy, oh boy, McManus. Like, that's why I keep asking me. I'm not being a smart ass. I'm genuinely asking people, like, did I miss another attempt? I'm looking through my chart and everything. I'm like, I don't think we missed any more kicks.
Yeah.
Right?
No, I think they're counting that pre-snap the one at 5 seconds when he kicked a pre-snap, missed it just short. I think they're counting that and just adding on to the fact of, you know, hey, he missed this one too. It's like, dude, all right, cool. Well, at least we kind of know his range. Has anybody else thought of the weather? I mean, it was 20 degrees, Tim, with the wind.
It was cold, dead kind of air.
It's probably like you're kicking like a retaining wall block and you're trying to put your leg through the thing.
Yeah. And you know, really we have to do it justice by explaining the fact that, you know, on that drive, if, you know, a couple things go right, we're not sending them out there. We're sending them out there for a 54-yard or a 53-yard field goal.
No, definitely.
Which is still long enough, you know, to tie the game there at the end. But yeah, I just I don't put the blame on McManus at all.
And I don't think the snap was perfect. I got to go.
That one was terrible. The second one, for sure. That's why he shanked it. I'm convinced of it.
Could have been, with the low snap. So, again, and 2-0 for this says that needed to be a Hail Mary attempt. I can understand that opinion, too. I got you. You know, here's the problem with it, though, 2-0 for this. Like, I'm kind of with you. If you've never seen McManus hit a 64-yarder in Lambeau, much less the code, probably throw the Hail Mary, right? So I'm with you there. However, if we throw the Hail Mary, there's going to be fans in here and everywhere else going, why didn't you at least give him a shot to kick the field goal? That's going to be happening too. So it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. And really this is why we come away from this game saying there's so many people, so many things to put blame on. Musgrave had 3 targets, 3 catches. You look at the box score and go, good game. However, that third down, where he just kind of falls to the ground and avoids contact, you got to know I got to pick this first down up.
Mhm.
I've got to lose my life to pick this first down up, right? And we, again, all week long, we said Musgrave may be an X factor, but don't expect him to run through tackles. That's not who he is, right? That's like expecting one of our receivers to run through those 3 tackles. However, the Eagles better count their blessings that Tucker Kraft wasn't on that field, because he would have blasted all 3 of those cats for that first down. That would have happened. You would not have stopped him from getting that first down. And that's the other thing I want to point out. People calling for LaFleur's job, and guys, we were without our number 1 target. You're going, I know, Clayton, Jaden Reed's been all year. Well, cool, Jaden Reed. Tucker Kraft was your leading receiver. He's gone now. Then you lose your starting center. So it's and on top of that, you got a backup cornerback dropping passes, running routes in your F because you're so, banged up at the wide receiver position because your first round pick is injured. So all that gets pushed to the side, and Matt LaFleur needs to be fired. We're just not being realistic. We're not. It's again, that's just how I see it. So.
Mm-hmm. And he should have had a 30 or 40 yarder at the end of the second when Jordan fumbled. Just a nice, easy, warm the leg up, put it through the uprights, give us 3 right there and go. And mistake.
Yeah, I think this is in response to something Holmes said here in the chat too about people talking about the play calling. Nick McSwain says someone called me an idiot because I said the play calling wasn't as big of an issue as the execution. Doc, LOL. It's so true. And we kind of played that audio earlier today. Guys, the tape is there. Yep. You can watch it. Hell, we didn't even have to get to the all 22. The announcers are showing ISO cams of receivers running butt naked through the trailer park, and Love just didn't see them. He didn't get it to them. So that's where you put blame on Love. You can also put some blame on the offensive line for not protecting him early and things getting kind of rattled and shook up. Just there's plenty of blame to go around. And that's why listen, we're the number 7 seed, right? I laid that out earlier. And I walked us through just the NFC North games for the next 3 weeks. And this thing is going to get wild. I showed a scenario where the Packers fall completely out of the playoffs after this week after next week. This week, them jumping to like the 5 or 6 seed. Next week, falling completely out of the playoffs. And in the following week, all that tallying up, we're back in first place in the division. Like this.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. And I know people hear that and go, whatever, Clayton, I'm stressed. Embrace it. This is what makes the NFL so damn good.
Yeah, it's so that time of year, man. We're coming down the stretch here. You're going to see a lot of shifting. Both AFC and NFC. I think as much as everyone thinks we have this whole playoff picture figured out right now. How many times have we seen it come down to week 16 or week 17? Win and you're in, lose, you're done. A lot of times you're right. Towards the end of the season, the playoffs are already started.
Right. Chris Cashman says the offensive line is the weakest link on the squad. Second place ain't even close. I agree. And here's what's crazy. We identified this after we lost to the Eagles in the playoffs. We said this needs to be top priority this offseason. We spent a 2nd-round pick on Anthony Belton. We signed Aaron Banks in free agency. You missed. It looks like we missed on Aaron Banks. Luckily, you got a 1 year out. If Goody agrees he missed on him, we can just, all right, let's chalk it up and move on. But we can't blame him for not trying, right? Like he's seen the same thing we did, because you can obviously see where he spent his time and his money, time in scouting, and obviously a 2nd-round draft pick, and the money in free agency for Aaron Banks. And again, you're going to miss on some. I'm not making excuses for Goody. That's the other thing that pisses me off when you get in the middle of the season. The GM just kind of gets no blame. He just kind of drifts to the back, right? People say, well, he traded the farm to get Micah Parsons, right? Gotcha. So that absolves him from any decisions he's made building the rest of the roster. Like, there's plenty of blame to go around. So, and I did see fans actually tweeting at me and tweeting at other Packer fans earlier today going, hey, we'll give you multiple draft picks for Matt LaFleur right now if you don't want him. Like, there's a bunch of teams that would be begging for Matt LaFleur to be their head coach. And I'm telling you, be careful what you wish for, because the next hire – You ain't got Mark Murphy making that decision to get a Matt LaFleur, who has been one of the most successful coaches since he's taken over the Packers. He will have a job tomorrow, and you might end up with Brian Daboll. Just saying.
Yep.
So I know winning percentage doesn't matter to a portion of the fan base, but it'll matter when you hire Brian Daboll. I promise you that. So, all right. Are we ready to move on to PFF grade since y'all are done rambling here?
Yes.
I thought we were going to go with Cowherd. What happened? We scrapping it?
We covered it, Tim. We didn't even play the audio. I don't want to hear his voice. So we covered what he said, essentially. right? And we'll just move it along there. All right. So my blood pressure can't.
I just got to know, Tim, you lost your voice on that Quay yell, right? When he blew that play up.
Oh,
bro,
my
he
gosh.
killed that guy. Did he not?
Oh.
Who was it?
A thing of beauty. It was a thing of beauty. I almost fell over the bleachers jumping out. I was so hyped for him, man. He played well. Carrington played really well.
Yeah.
He got juked by Saquon Barkley, added to the list of defenders who get juked by Saquon Barkley. Please shut up about it being Carrington Valentine's fault that we lost the game. That's not true.
Tim, and on that play, 3rd and long, 3rd and 8, right? Which is considered 3rd and long. Yep. 3rd and long, you blitzed, and you left Carrington
on an island
outside with Saquon and 10 yards of space in between them. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Find me the cornerback that's going to stop him short of that first down. I'll wait.
Yeah,
I will wait.
Because he also had to cover the dude running the route behind him.
He had to cover the route and then break back down on Saquon, and people were trying to rake him over the cover.
And our team's not the one that's on the Madden cover getting hurdled in reverse. You know what I mean?
That's true.
We're not the Jaguars.
There you go. Duval. All right. So PFF grades, updated team grades. The Packers are still the 6th highest graded team according to PFF. If people disagree, I completely understand. I'm not trying to cause an argument there. I'm just giving you guys the information, and we will talk about it all. Okay. Offensive grade. Overall, the Packers are 12th at 74.9 on the season. So just outside of the top 10. To me, that feels about right. Right. I think they're definitely top 15 offense, even with all the struggles, all the injuries. They definitely fell out of the top 10 for me. I just don't feel like they're a top 10 offense right now. That could change in the next few weeks. We'll see. I hope that's the case for sure. And then defensively, they are the 4th highest graded at a 78.4. We won't dive into all those little nuances of each of those, but just want to lay those out. How do y'all feel about that before we get to Jerry's comment? Thank you, Jerry. 6th overall, right? And it was 12th overall in offense. And then defensively, they were 4th overall in defensive grade. How do y'all feel about those grades there?
Still love my Packers. I feel good.
Yeah.
A lot of ball left, man. A lot of ball left.
I'm there with Tim, man. I think we're totally fine. Ross Tucker on his rankings had us at 13, ahead of the Bears and the Vikings and all that. So good shape there. Lions ahead of us. But until we get into December and we start seeing them play December football, I'm not completely worried about where we land. As long as we're closing in on top 10, inside of the top 10, once you hit December, I think we'll be in good shape. Matt LaFleur is great in December. I think that's what's important, is playing your best ball at the end of the season as you're going into that stretch. And I think that if there's issues in December, okay, I'll start having the conversation if you want about Matt. But I think until then, you kind of need to lean off the dude.
Right. Yep. And Jerry with the super chat says it's as if no one can remember the last 8 games of 2023. Great coaching, great playing. It's such a good point. You guys remember the first half of 2023, how they struggled like crazy, right? And then all of a sudden, second half, bang, Toyota-thon hits, Matt LaFleur December hits, and it's a December to remember. Ain't that the sales slogan everybody got for Christmas, right? I think that's another
December to remember sales event.
Yeah, what is that? What brand is that? Because it's not Toyota, right? Or as we say,
I'll have it here shortly.
It's not Toyota. Jerry, that's a great point. Thank you for bringing that back into focus there. Appreciate the super chat as well. Here's a great point by Jeffrey. Chicago fired Lovie Smith after an 8-8 season. They still haven't recovered. It's a great point.
That's so true. Yeah, spot on.
And Chicago's playing good right now, boys, but also they've been gifted a few. We're going to find out these next 4 weeks. We're going to find out if Chicago's real or not. Right now, I'm not telling anybody else they have to. I'm tipping my cap going, you know what? They're figuring out ways to win ball games, whether the other team is playing horrible down the stretch or not. Lexus, there it is. Bates looked at it.
Of course, you know, with the big bow on it.
So it is Toyota.
Drive all the way up the mountain in the cabin in the woods in the snow. Yeah.
Is that right, Tim? Is Lexus
Toyota? Is a Toyota brand, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, it is. Yeah, that's
let me
that's the Acura for your Honda right there.
Yep, there you go.
Toyota is the Lexus for us broke rednecks. That's what
buddy.
I got me a Lexus. That's right. It's called a Toyota. So, all right, let's move it along here now.
I like real quick what Too Old for This said here. I'd be way more worried about this team with anyone other than Matt LaFleur as head coach right now. I think that's a valid point.
Amen to that, man. Amen. And again, I'm not absolving Matt LaFleur as if he shouldn't be on the hot seat at any point, right? I said last night, if you miss the playoffs and your offense falls out of a top 15 ranking, probably need to start having a conversation. Not this year, but going into next year, boys, if we have a season like that again, yeah, there's a problem. The team's not responding now, right?
Yep.
We got to really think about it, but it's way too early. Way too early, in my opinion. So these are the same conversations that were being had, as Jerry pointed out, in the first half of 2023.
That's right.
So, all right. Let's jump into the offensive PFF grades here from this particular game. Actually, this is not this particular game, is it, boys? I about screwed up there. Let's go. I was about to give y'all some fake information. So in the Philly game, overall, 60.3. All right. Offensive grade, 63.4. Tim, they're smoking crack. The defensive grade was a 53.3. How did the defense grade out worse?
Can't wait to see what Quay grades out at.
Emilio, is that a wild grade to you, or is that just me?
Crackhead.
There you go.
They got hold to the wrong stuff.
That's it, man. That's all.
That's wild, right? Like what? How does that make sense?
It doesn't. I've got no words.
Okay. I am without speech. There you go. All right. So let's start with the offense, okay? Offensively. So actually, you know what? Let's start with defense. I apologize. Let's start with
And
defense.
these numbers did move around a lot from last night.
Right. I noticed that Micah's went down, and I felt a little bit better about my take last night.
Yeah. Oh, no. And I'm happy you were, because I said, hey, he was 89.7 last night.
What changed? Do you think a supervisor came in and said, boys, that redneck on PTA, man, he called y'all out. We better straighten this out.
That's exactly it.
Yeah. So defensively, let's start there, and then we'll get back to the offense since we kind of already pressed into the defense. Why did they grade so low? First of all, Baron Sorrell, only 7 snaps. I wish it had been 72 snaps, right?
Yep.
84.8. He made a couple plays there that you can see, like, okay, I think we got us one there, guys. I think that's a guy that we're not going to miss JJ Enagbare if he does hit free agency and we get outbid there. I think Baron Sorrell is going to jump right in there with a healthy Brenton Cox Jr. and hopefully a healthy Colin Oliver next year. And that's going to be kind of your backup rotation in the edge room. But again, 84.8. Carrington freaking Valentine.
How about that Kentucky Wildcat? Let's go.
All 63 snaps, 79.4 with an 81.5 coverage grade. The dude belongs. How many times are we going to see it? I know this.
How many times are we going to say it? I feel like I've been saying this for 18 months.
Yeah.
I hate to play Monday morning quarterback, but that's what we're supposed to do as podcasters, right? Imagine you can go back to free agency, and imagine you don't sign Aaron Banks, you sign Drew Dahlman as center, like we said. We did say that on this show. We wanted Drew Dahlman, right? Yep. And also, we didn't understand the Nate Hobbs signing. However, when we broke it down, it's like, okay, they must be looking to move Bullard back to safety or something. Maybe they don't think Bull is a slot. They did not do that. They just completely flipped Hobbs outside, and he hasn't looked comfortable, but he hasn't been healthy. Imagine if you take those two free agents off the table, you sign Drew Dahlman, E stays at left guard, and now you got that extra depth, and you got a solid center there. He's in Chicago, I believe, is who went and picked him up.
Mm-hmm.
Feeling a lot better. And now Carrington is on the field the entire time. And listen, we showed the clips, whether he's healthy or not, of Nate Hobbs getting burned several times this year. You save that money. You probably get a net gain there between not signing Banks and not signing Hobbs and only getting Dahlman. Because I think he did get more than what it was. The projected market was like $6 million per or something. He got way more than that. But nonetheless, wouldn't we feel a lot better? Or do y'all disagree with that?
I mean, hindsight's 2020, right? I
Absolutely.
think we probably would be feeling a little bit better if it panned out that way at this point in the season. I think we all agree that, I'm not going to bash Elton Jenkins, but the center play was a little bit underwhelming, a little bit less than we expected, actually, I think. And maybe that's, my own fault for having super high expectations, but I thought we'd get a little bit more out of Big E there, but him at left guard is that's been a tried and true spot for him for the past number of years. So I'm not opposed to him going back there if he is in fact healthy in a few weeks.
Yeah, right. With you on that point, Tim, and yeah, Carrington. Obviously, we thought we maybe had something, and he's gotten a lot of reps. I think that's helped him out tremendously, being able to have so many reps the past years. So that was more or less just a safety clause, because what happens I think you still would have had to go out and get a corner either way. Would be my thing. I think they'd still be screaming for a corner. You would still. I mean, the draft didn't fall that way. Maybe it falls differently. Whatever. But I think that you still probably need to go out, get a safety valve at corner, because you're just not super sure what happens after. If Carrington goes down and you don't have Hobbs, is Bo playing both ways that game?
Right.
I'm not for that.
Right. That's a good point. So let me get this zoomed in. I apologize. I don't know what the hell I'm doing.
But just to Carrington's point, last night he was a 72-2 with a coverage grade of a 72-5. So they upped him, 7 points?
Got it.